Hello and welcome to Racers Now. The flat season is well and truly in full swing, and Royal Ascot is just over 3 weeks away. There's actually quite a few races taking place this weekend that may impact on Royal Ascot racers, but you could say that for every week in the first half of the flat season. So plenty to look forward to, and it is, without question, the biggest and best flat meeting of the season. My personal favourite week of the year, Royal Ascot, 5 days of spectacular action in the middle of June, 8 Group 1s starting on Tuesday, June the 18th. I considered making this video 10 seconds long. It would have gone something along the lines of this. There are no top-notch milers. There are no top-notch sprinters. Kyprios is head and shoulders above the rest in the Gold Cup. But that would be pretty boring. So unfortunately for you, I've got a more in-depth anti-post preview to go through here on this video, chiefly looking at those 8 Grade 1s, Group 1s at the Royal Meeting, and starting with the race of the first race of the week, the Queen Anne. For older horses over a straight mile, and I've never seen it so open in my whole life. It's currently 11-2, the field in the Queen Anne. Some odds are going to be going across the bottom of the screen there. I mean, 11-2, the field absolutely wide open. Inspiral is at the head of the market. She ran fourth in the Lockinge, as expected, really, but not as I expected, but not as the market expected, given that she was sent off 2-1 favourite for that Lockinge Stakes. But you know, we had the usual things. Her first run of the season, she's getting older and wiser now. She might not want soft ground. She was drawn in store one, etc., etc., etc. This 11-2 for Royal Ascot might look massive in hindsight on the day. You might get to the day and she might be 2-1, and you was thinking, well, 3 weeks ago, them Racers Now boys told us that she was 11-2. Well, that is correct, but she is still, I mean, obviously very good. She is difficult to be relied on. She won the last 3 races of last season, were all Grade 1 wins. One of them in 3 different countries, actually, on 2 different continents. But she could go for the Prince of Wales' stakes over 10 furlongs. I don't think that's a good idea, in my personal opinion. I think she should stay over this 8 furlong straight mile trip. But they have flirted with the idea of stepping up, and Cheveley Park, who own Inspiral, also have Audience under the same ownership, and trainer, actually, who won the Lockinge. A bit of a surprise win of the Lockinge. We'll come on to him shortly. But the Queen Anne is the race for Inspiral. She was second in this race last year by a neck at 11-4. This is the race for her. She'll, of course, strip fitter and better, hopefully, for that Lockinge Stakes. She did come fourth in the end, don't get me wrong, but she got no way near winning. French contender near the top of the market is Factor Cheval. He's 7-1. Big Rock is 10-1. Big Rock, very disappointing in the Lockinge, and Factor Cheval actually won out in Sandown when we last saw him. So a serious horse, but both probably want slower ground, and all things being normal, it is usually quicker than softer at Ascot. Obviously, it's in the middle of June. Audience, of course, deserves a mention. A shock winner of the Lockinge, 22-1. Was it a fluke? I mean, has he let forward? Now he is a bit older, a bit wiser. He stepped up to a mile. He's settled more. He's behaving better. Or do you just say it was a bit of a fluke? He won from the front. Often when we get horses winning big races from leading from start to finish, we do tend to call it a fluke. But is it? I think Audience, we need to see him again in another Group 1 race to see whether the Lockinge was a fluke or not, and just to see how good he is. On a line through, Charin, who is also in this in the Queen Anne, in at around 6-1 at the moment, who was second, is a very solid horse. Audience beat him fair and square, so it might not be a fluke. And like I say, nearly all front running winners in big races are classed as fluky almost instantly. Proof will need to come further down the line. And given that Audience is A, a very likely runner, B, 3 of the 4 in front of him in the market could well not run. Those 3 being Inspiral, might go up to 10. Big Rock, looked terrible, probably wants softer ground anyway. And Factor Cheval also wants softer ground. So given that 3 of the 4 above Audience in the market might not well run, that 12-1 looked good. And away from Inspiral, and other than that, really, is there any standout contenders anyway in the mile division? I don't think so. So I don't think Audience 12-1 each way is a bad bet at all. And that will be an official selection from me. There isn't going to be many as we go through this video. And SD also has one as well. We'll come on to that. So yeah, I do think Audience 12-1 each way in the Queen Anne at this anti-post stage, 3.5 weeks before the race takes place. I do think it's a good bet because he's going to he's almost certain to run as long as he's fit and healthy. And there are big question marks about some of those above and around him. in the anti-post markets. Next up on the Tuesday is the newly named King Charles III Stakes. It's the King Stand to me and you. Over 5 furlongs of Group 1, open to any horse really that's 3 and over. And as I said at the start of the show, there just aren't many UK sprinters, or Irish really for that matter, but there's no standout UK sprinter from what we've seen so far this season. I'm pretty sure of that. Second and third favourite in this race are currently trained in Australia. They won this in 2022, of course, the Australians, so you can't blame them for having another go. The main trials, if you like, for 5 furlong sprinters so far this season, the Palace House Stakes on Guineas Day, which looked a rubbish renewal this year, to be honest. I did say that beforehand, and I think so it proved when the race unfolded. Under 1.5 lengths in the King Stand, actually covered the first 7. There was a 33-1 shock winner that day. The next trial is the Temple Stakes at Haydock, which is actually tomorrow as time of recording. That takes place at Haydock on the 25th of May. There's a race that we're actually one of the Aussie contenders, Asfora, is actually due to run in that race at Haydock, but that's going to be ran on soft ground thanks to the deluge this week. So we'll obviously find out more about the Aussie contender and others in that Haydock Temple Stakes. It looks pretty open. And as a result, the King Stand looks pretty open. Big Evs is in there as the 4-1 favourite at the moment, a 3-year-old who will be getting the allowances that go with that. Showed his well-being at York last week with a workmanlike win at the Dante meeting against his own age group. He was 4-7. Some questioned whether it was, as I say, workmanlike or was it impressive. But I think he's done well to just prove that he's trained on. And, you know, this isn't going to... The Dante meeting wasn't the be-all and end-all of Big Evs' season. And they'll obviously have already had one eye on this. This is an open age race at Royal Ascot, and that's going to be a whole different test for Big Evs. I do always think it's difficult for 3-year-olds when they are stepping up into open company so early in their 3-year-old career, the hustle and bustle. And let's be honest, a lot of horses that are running over 5 and 6 furlong, the 6 furlong Group 1s as juveniles, a lot of the horses don't end up being 6 furlong horses, let's put it that way, or 5 furlongs in Big Evs' case. He needs to step up again. He will definitely need to improve on what he did at York, but he is the 4-1 favourite at this stage. He wouldn't be for me at this stage, but we'll have to wait and see on the day. But other than that, at the top of the market, Big Evs and the 2 Aussies that I know very little about, the Brits are a bit of a muchness, to be honest. Let's be honest about it. I mean, Regional is a Group 1 winner, but I'm not sure that if he's a 5 furlong horse or a 6 furlong horse, frankly. He won the Haydock Sprint Cup over 6 furlongs. Rogue Lightning could be good. Was bought for over £1 million towards the back end of last season by Watnam Racing. We'll see what he does at Haydock in the Temple Stakes. Kevin Condon's Moss Tucker should be taken pretty seriously. I think he's probably the best 5 furlong horse in Ireland, this Moss Tucker. International competitors like Crimson Advocate, Valiant Force, who won at the Royal Meeting last year, but is now campaigned in America. No Nay Nets and Fandom are both from America. They're far from certain runners. So, you know, when you start taking them out of the anti-post markets, you can start to find, hopefully, the value elsewhere. So that leads me to Give Me the Beat Boys, who is 25-1. And I have in my notes that the connections are on record that he could run twice at Royal Ascot Week. Remember, Give Me the Beat Boys ran well in the Coventry last year. I think he was 4-5 under Frankie Dettori. They reckon the connections were on Nick Luck podcast a few weeks ago saying that Give Me the Beat Boys could run in this King Stand Stakes, the renamed King Stand Stakes, and also in the Commonwealth Cup, which is over 6 furlongs on the Friday. That is ambitious. It's an ambitious plan. But if you just take him on what we've seen so far from Give Me the Beat Boys this year, he's already ran twice. Look at his run at Nace. He was ahead behind Bucanero Forte, a Group 1 juvenile winner from last year. That was on May the 19th. It took a while to get organised in that race, but properly flew home, Give Me the Beat Boys, flying towards the line there at Nace when he stopped playing bumper cars with another rival, and he was able to run in a straight line. And that's a career best on form figures with the RPRs, even though he didn't win. So he's never actually ran at 5 furlongs in his life. This Gives Me the Beat Boy. So again, it is ambitious, bit quirky to run him twice in a week, but they're on record of saying they might look at trying it. His debut was actually over 5.5 furlongs, never ran over 5 as yet. I'm reluctant to put him up as an official bet at this stage because he might not run. And the Commonwealth Cup, the trainer, Jessica Harrington, has said that is the main target. but he could also run in this 5 furlong race as well. But I have a feeling he might run in both. And if he does, it'll be a nice price on the day after declarations anyway, I suspect. He might not be 25 to 1, he might be 16. And at which time we could put him up as a better betting proposition. Anti-post betting is dangerous. If you bet them now, anti-post, and they don't run, guess what? You've done your money. The third Group 1 on an amazing Tuesday is probably the best day's racing in the whole of the flat racing calendar, is the St. James's Palace. This is for 3-year-olds over a mile. A lot of the Guineas horses basically are going to turn up here and usually do. And this could be a fantastic race if they all turn up, and hopefully they do. It could well be a cracker. Notable speech, your 2,000 Guineas winner is the 6-4 favourite, and I think rightly so. He was electric at the Guineas on winning that. Rosalien, he's even money. He runs this weekend. He's even money to win the Irish 2,000 Guineas at time of recording, and he was second at Newmarket behind Notable Speech. And then you've got Henry Longfellow, who for Aidan O'Brien was a Group 1 winner, unbeaten in 3 starts last year. And he looked pretty unlucky in the French 2,000 Guineas, where he went off favourite and finished down the field. If all 3 of them turn up, and some others, it could be a cracker. I must say, I do think that this race is absolutely perfect for Notable Speech. In recent years, Charlie Appleby has been over to Ireland and actually won the Irish 2,000 Guineas a couple of times, Native Trail being one of them. But he has elected, with Notable Speech, not to be tempted to go to Ireland with this 2,000 Guineas winner and try and win their Guineas. He said straight, all roads lead to Royal Ascot. This Notable Speech, he only made his debut in January this year in Kempton. He's unbeaten in 3 starts so far, a 2,000 Guineas winner, as I've mentioned. He's a turn of foot merchant in my book, who ran straight as an arrow at Newmarket at the business end of that race, out the dip, went past Rosalien with good authority and won well. I think Notable Speech's stalk and pounce tactics may be perfect for a race like this at Ascot. Round the bend, a mile round the bend, I think it would be perfect for Notable Speech. He's 6-4. At the moment, he's certainly not an anti-post bet at that price, but I do think this is the perfect race for him. And I've already questioned Rosalien's staying power, and if that is an issue, it certainly could get found out at Ascot with its stiff uphill finish. Rosalien by Blue Point, will he stay? Was he emptying at Newmarket, or was he just unlucky to bump into a good one and beat everyone else easily? We might find out at the Curragh on Saturday, but that's for possibly another video. The big Group 1 on the Tuesday is the Prince of Wales' Stakes. On the Wednesday, is the Prince of Wales' Stake. This is over 10 furlongs for older horses. And you can get your cliche book out at this stage, because Sir Michael Stout has an older horse who was better than ever on seasonal reappearance, Passenger. He was very, very good at Chester in the Huxley Stakes, let's be honest. Pre-Epsom, probably the best performance of any horse we've seen so far in the early part of this season. Now a 4-year-old, he ran in the Derby last year, was dropped back to 10 furlongs for his first start this year. I mean, other than Passenger, who was a 5-2 favourite, it's a question of who will turn up in this race. August Rodin runs this weekend in Ireland. Maybe he will run in this race as well, the Prince of Wales's. In Spiral, mentioned her earlier, surely she's better over a mile, but connections have said she might run in this. Okeechobee, somewhat of the new kid on the block, despite being 5 years old. He had a long time off earlier in his career and won well at Sandown a few weeks ago. Could he turn up here? Alrifa, a talented horse in his own right for Joseph O'Brien. He's going to America. Nashwa is injured. King of Steel is injured. Continuous has been injured, and this might be a bit too early for him. So, yeah, it's a case of who's going to win, who's going to run. Passenger looks a very, very likely runner. August Rodin probably will run. And then those names at the bottom of your screen, you've got question marks over all of them. So Passenger is surely the one to beat. It's likely to be a top quality race, as it usually is, of those mentioned who will actually run. Passenger, as I say, looks the one to be. A pretty short and sweet preview of the Prince of Wales' Stakes from an anti-post perspective. On to Thursday, and this is Gold Cup Day at Ascot, and it's all about one horse as far as I can see, and the market suggests that. Kyprios is even money and will win, in my opinion. At the start of the year, he was as big as 4-1, and I regret not backing him, really. I know it's easy with hindsight, but he was injured for the vast majority of 2023, and the 2 starts that he had at the back end of the year were obviously on the comeback trail from injury. He won neither of them. He was second in both, I think, an agonising second on Champions Day behind Schrawleman there. But this Kyprios, let's remember, he was head and shoulders above everything and anyone in the 2022 season. Fantastic stayer, the best that I'd seen for years personally. And then he was injured in 2023. He's had 2 easy wins in warm-up races so far in 2024. Both are odds on, both winning by, 1.25 lengths up to 2 lengths, something along those lines. Last year's winner, Courage Mon Ami, is out injured, so he won't be back to defend his Gold Cup crown. Kyprios could well be, and he's already the shortest price favourite of the week at even money. I don't really know what else to say. We know a lot about the horses in behind, the likes of Kyprios. The Vaubands, the Coltranes, the Trawlermans. We know a lot about them, and Kyprios has already proven in his life that he's better than all of these horses anyway. And the key thing is with the stayers, a lot of them hang around for a lot longer than some of the milers or the middle distance horses. These stayers often come back year after year. We saw that with Stradivarius. Well, Kyprios whacked Stradivarius the 2 or 3 times they met. Kyprios, head and shoulders above the rest, and I think he will probably go on to prove it. Am I betting him at even money anti-post? No, thank you. On the Friday, we've got 2 Group 1s on the Friday, starting with the Commonwealth Cup, which is actually under threat for its Group 1 status, believe it or not. Hasn't produced the best quality horses, unfortunately, over the few years. But I think the Commonwealth Cup's only been going 8 or 9 years. I think it was a nice addition to the calendar. I think it still is. It would be a shame if it lost its Group 1 status. But I think this year we have a very, very good one, and that is Vandeek, who is the 11-4 favourite currently, and I think absolutely rightly so. I do think there is some juice in that price, to be fair. He was really good last season, won back-to-back Group 1s on his last 2 starts, unbeaten in 4 starts in total, and another one that is due to make his comeback this weekend on bad ground at Haydock in the Sandy Lane Stakes. It's going to be soft ground, so hopefully that doesn't blunt Vandeek, because he was really, really exciting last year. I would like to see him go and be really good and dominant again this year. I see no reason why he won't train on. He's the rightful favourite. Bucanero Forte and Elite Status have already been out and ran career best, actually, or close to this season already. They're definite players in this market, don't get me wrong. Elite Status turn the year, possibly be Carl Burke saw him more potentially down the line as a 5 furlong horse. Well, actually, he's been out at Newbury on his first start this season and beat Relief Rally fair and square in an impressive performance. So you would think that he would be Commonwealth Cup bound on the back of that. And Bucanero Forte, as I mentioned earlier, he was racing against Give Me the Beat Boys over in Naas. That was his first run of the season. He won the Group 1 Phoenix Stakes last year. And Bucanero Forte has also shown that he has trained on and is ready to fight it out in the big races this year. Give Me the Beat Boys has mentioned a couple of times already in the King Stand section of this video, and on the basis that he could run in both races, and there was very little wrong with his run behind Bucanero Forte first time up this year. He's 20-1, Give Me the Beat Boys for this Commonwealth Cup, which might sound like a nice price, but it is worth waiting, I think, until plans become a little bit clear. So, and to be honest, he might well be a similar price to this on the day anyway. A lot of it, I think, will be based on Vandeek. If Vandeek goes and wazzers in at Haydock this weekend, you can see that 11-4 looking more like 6-4 or even shorter, to be fair. And just on the Vandeek, SD also thinks there is some juice in this price. He's not appearing in this video. I do apologise. But SD, this is going down as an official bet. I spoke to him this morning. He thinks Vandeek 11-4 for the Commonwealth Cup is an official bet. And that will be going on the Races Now P&L as usual. The feature race on the Friday goes to the Coronation Stakes. This is pretty much like the St. James's Palace, but for the girls. Shock 1,000 guineas winner El Malka will likely run here, but it is Opera Singer who looms large in the market. She is in there currently as the 4-1 favourite. Another that runs this weekend, she is the 5-2 favourite to win the Irish 1,000 guineas. That will be her first start of the season because she has had a setback earlier this season. Opera Singer was the best juvenile filly of 2023. That is for unquestionable, absolutely for sure. And like I say, she's been off a while and makes a return this weekend. I think she's very good, but does have 2 question marks for me, this Opera Singer. She's by Justify, who we've heard a lot about as a sire. We've heard a lot about him so far this year following the City of Troy saga, and it is turning into a saga, City of Troy, don't get me wrong. And on pedigree and visuals last year, I think this Opera Singer actually wants further than a mile anyway. So we're going to have those sort of questions answered in the Irish 1,000 guineas. It does make sense now that she's clearly not going to the Oaks. It does make sense to maybe go to the Coronation, then look at stepping up in trip thereafter. Maybe something like the Nassau Stakes at Goodwood, possibly. Ramachuel is in here, but has already proven to me that she doesn't stay a mile. A lot of people questioned Ramachuel's the ride that she got in the 1,000 guineas, where she went odds on. She hit the front. The jockey maybe went too early, but she was beaten, far enough in the end to make it inconsequential in regards to the ride, I thought. it is a stiff finish here at Ascot, so I can't see Ramachuel staying a mile round Ascot in a month of Sundays, to be honest. Skellett is one that I'm definitely interested in. And one that I'm keeping an eye on, especially after I put Skellett up for the English 1,000 guineas anti-post. And the very next morning after that video was published, she was declared a non-runner on the basis that her trainer, Ralph Beckett, said that she wasn't quite ready to run. Money was that was a minus on the old racers, now P&L there. But her first start of the season, Skellett, is this Sunday in that 1,000 guineas against opera singer and others. So that's a sign for me of intent from Ralph Beckett, as she could have started in a much easier race other than being chucked in a Group 1 on her first start of the season. Remember, she wouldn't have any penalties to carry. There was a few options where she could have got a run out for her first start of the season, but no, they're chucking her in that Group 1 at the Curragh. She's actually 14-1 to win the Irish 1,000 guineas. I think that's probably a bet in itself, but I'll keep that separate from here. But yeah, on the basis that she's been declared for the Irish 1,000 guineas, she's clearly fit and well. I think that's a signal of intent from connections and how good they think she is. I do think Skellett is a bet for this Coronation Stakes each way, 25-1 at the moment. The story with her, regular viewers will know, and I've said before, a very, very rare mid-season purchase of any horse by Juddmonte. Towards the back end of last year, after a first or second start, Juddmonte purchased her. Then she ran in a Group 3 at Newmarket. That is very rare behaviour for Juddmonte, those famous colours. She did quite a lot in a short space of time last year. This Skellett, she went from making a debut on August the 20th to running in a good renewal of a Group 3 Osho Sharp Stakes at Newmarket in October. And she was bought in between time as well by Juddmonte. She hit the front pretty much too early in that Osho Sharp Stakes. I think she's crying out for a step up to a mile. She's a definite player in this division if they can get her right and fit, and obviously they must think she's right and fit if they're travelling all the way over to the Curragh this weekend. I do think she's a bet for this race each way at 25-1. That's the best value I could find at Royal Ascot, full stop, to be honest. It could all go in the mud if she trails in last or second last at the Curragh this weekend, but hopefully in an ideal world she runs well in Ireland, possibly even wins, and she'll be a lot shorter than the 25-1 that you can see on screen for this Coronation Stakes. I do like her as a horse, and fingers crossed she runs well this weekend. And on to the final of the 8 Group 1s at Royal Ascot. It's the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes, usually my least favourite Group 1 of the week. Over 6 furlongs. Currently, it's 8-1, the field in the betting, but it might be traditionally my least favourite Group 1 at Royal Ascot, but of course that doesn't stop me having a bet and trying to pick the winner. This is the race that usually has the most international influence, i.e. Australian horses. They sometimes come over for the 5 furlong race as well, but more likely to see international interest in this 6 furlong race. And that may well be the case again this year. As you can see, some of the names going across the bottom. Chain of Lightning is an Australian horse as well. I do like a bet in this race. So I do like a horse to bet on in this race. And that is Millstream. He is a bet, I think, at 10-1. I had him down as a definite sprinter to follow this year in this season. It's always hard for 3-year-olds against older sprinters, apart from the real top notchers. But he's now a 4-year-old. He was tried last year in the Sprint Cup, etc. But now he's 4 years old, more mature, more used to the hustle and bustle of these big field sprint races, the cross wide tracks like Ascot and York and the like. But he managed to win an all-age Group 3 in France last season. As a 3-year-old, ran really well in that Haydock Sprint Cup, I thought as well. Although the form figure on its own in the Sprint Cup would say he was actually quite far down the field. But if you watch it back from where he raced on the day in that Sprint Cup, I thought he ran pretty well. And then he's been out this year on his first start this season. He's won the Group 2 at York just last week, actually, when doing a fair bit wrong. William Buick rode him that day. He had to steer around horses. He looked a very unlikely winner at the 1 furlong or maybe half a furlong pole, but got up on the line. Definitely worth more than the nose winning distance, which was the official winning distance on the day. I just think he's a sprinter going places. I really do. I think Jane Chapel-Hyam, his trainer, is a pretty much perfect trainer for this horse as well. Patient, and will put him in all the right races, I think. He's on the up in the sprint division, and in this country, it's pretty empty, as I've said about sprinters generally. So I do like Millstream 10-1. That's a win bet advised for the Jubilee. And on the basis that current favourite Kinross, who's 8-1, I mean, it's 8-1 the field wide open this race. Kinross is now a 7-year-old. He doesn't like quick ground. Yeah, and I've got no idea how good this Australian Chain of Lightning is going to run. I mean, is he actually that good anyway? If you look at Chain of Lightning, I think he's not got anywhere near winning his last two races yet. He's in here at 10-1 for a Group One over in England. Yeah, I think Millstream's a bet in this, and he's 10-1, and that'll do me nicely. I think he'll be much shorter than that on the day. Hopefully, whether Millstream will run between now and Ascot, probably not. I think he'll go straight there. So 10-1, I think is a good bet for Millstream. So there's 3 or 4 bets put up there by myself, and SD's chimed in with one as well. So, as always, all sorts to look forward to on Races Now. We're back next week looking forward to the Derby, and we've got Haydock and Irish racing this week. Plenty going on, and covering all the best anti-post races as usual here on Races Now. So, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back soon.